Alright, welcome back YouTube. So, this is a differential. This is a medium case. The way you can tell is by counting these bolts. If you have 6 of them, it's a medium case. If you have 4, it's a small case. And if you have 8, it's a large case. So BMWs came with 3 types. Only the M cars came with the large case. Anything 6-cylinder had the medium case, besides the 320 in Australia, which is unfortunate. And then everything else is a 4-bolt small case. These do handle a lot of power, so you don't really need to go to a large case if you know what you're doing, and especially if you have a OEM LSD and you pre-pack it with 4 clutches, everything will be fine. So, and you'd have 40% lock. These are known as S40 limited slip differentials. They're very rare. I've only seen them on 325iX E30s. I doubt there's not even in Australia, but and then the Z3s have the S25/40. And what we have today is a replica of that. So 4 new clutches, and everything has been checked to tolerances by a known professional, which I will not mention his name. So where we begin, we're going to remove these sway bar bolts from here, and then once that, loosen the CV E12 bolts. Just loosen them, don't remove them, on both sides. And then we'll loosen the drive shaft from the input from here, these ones there, and then at the end we can loosen the 2 mounts on the top, and then the mounts at the back for the diff, which are here. I know the lighting is terrible. This is my first time using this GoPro, so I will see how the content turns out. But okay, I'll disassemble now and then we'll go from there. Remove the rear muffler and I drop down the sway bar. I'm going to now loosen this CV. These are E12s. Once I loosen them but not remove them, I will loosen the drive shaft, and then we can proceed by removing the CVs, and then we can just drop down the diff in one go. Apologies for the lighting, but these GoPros don't do well, unfortunately, in low light conditions. So, all good. The diff, this is a 315. I don't know if you can see that. So 315 diff. As I was saying before, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts, which makes this a medium case differential. And the ratio would be the first 1, 2, 3 digits, so it's 3.15, so this makes it a 315. Unfortunately, this is the shortest ratio you can get in Australia. Everywhere else, like in America and in Europe, they had 323 on the M3s, which came with the non-S, like the European M3, but the 325s, the automatics, came with like a 346 or 364. The 320s came with the 391. I know that can get quite short if you have a ZF manual, but you know, it is what it is. In Australia you can't really, due to the laws and stuff like that, so I wouldn't recommend speed, so I prefer to have torque than speed, but that doesn't matter. In the meantime, let's get this diff open to have a look at the oil and go from there. So I just took off the cover, and what we can see here is we have an open differential as expected. They're quite rare in Australia, so if we rotate this one side, the other side will rotate in the opposite direction. You can see the spider gears there. There's nothing there to lock it. Usually people put a plate here and weld them together, but I don't like the way a water diff drives, especially for a street car. It's no bueno. So all we're going to do is we're going to loosen these 6 bolts, and after removing the output shaft, please make sure that you return this tab facing this notch here, because it has a oil return notch for the oil circulation for the bearings. If it's misaligned, you'll seize the bearings of the diff. So be careful and make sure you do not swap the shims from each side. So when you disassemble them, make sure you remember which side is which, otherwise you might have a loose diff, or it might just lock up and not rotate, because it has to do with the alignment of the center with the pinion. So this is the crown, and at the back there's a pinion, and that's pretty much what your diff is made out of. I'll go get the limited slip center and we can compare them in a bit. So I will just drain this oil, because there is a specific oil for limited slip differentials, and we'll go from there. Don't forget, this tab has to be up. So you can see that this one, the oil is quite clean actually. That's a good sign. So the bearings aren't bad, or there isn't any like problems with the crown or the gears or the pinion. So that is very nice. I'm not sure if you can see, but the lighting is terrible. But it's pretty clear. So while this is draining, I'll go prepare the other differential, the other center. So a little bit of a show the difference. We have an enclosed unit here. You can see where you can't really see much, but there's like mechanical clutches and spider gears, small ones, and shims and dog gears, and this is all assembled from the top. You can see this has been upgraded with the bolts instead of the standard Torx bits, which they usually strip out. So, and that's pretty much it. I can't really, I'll put some pictures from when we assembled this diff, and we'll go from there. I will double check that these are tight with the rattle gun just so slightly, and we can disassemble the other diff. Died. What we need to do is we need to now install the gears onto the limited slip housing. Just make sure that you align as good as you can. So I just eyeballed it at the moment, and I'm going to give it a few taps. It does get a bit tight around this area here, so just to prevent any slack. I did blow out the holes from the existing, also from the old Loctite, and once we get it going we can put some new one. So I'm just going to use a mallet. Just give me a sec, and just start tapping it around evenly. This is quite hard to do with one hand. Let's see if we can start. See if we can put a bolt through. Okay, so we can start threading a couple bolts. We'll have to be very careful doing this, because if you use the rattle gun it might strip the thread, so do this with caution. I will have to use my two hands at the moment because I do not want to strip the threads. But also another way is you can start putting in the bolts. Put as many as you can, and there will be alignment, so they'll guide the crown onto the housing. So we've got a couple bolts here which would technically make this pretty much aligned. So tapped it a couple times and this is how much has gone in. So if we can now carefully use the rattle gun without any fear, because we've got a couple threads here and there. As long as you go on the lowest setting on your rattle gun and just take it easy, you won't snap any bolts. Please be careful because these easily snap, and if it snaps it's a nightmare, and don't ask me how I know. Do this one-handed. Let's see. A vise would be great, but working what we have. So we still have a small gap here, as you see.